Powers and exponents. We are going to start with some definitions. So I like to highlight definitions. And unfortunately, my highlighter button works nice and slow. Then what are the other teachers that bang, 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 bang until it breaks down? Question. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Highlighter. Bam. There it is. Power. Poof. Poof. There it is. Takes two poofs to work. A power is made up of a base and an exponent. It is a shorter way to write repeated multiplication. Yeah, let's get it. We got, turn this way. Follow along. We're going to put this away. Okay? Right? Because if you had 3 times 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 3, it's a little annoying to write that down. It is nicer to go, oh, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 3s all multiplied together. This will be 3 to the 9. And that's a power. So the 3 to the 9, it has a base and it has an exponent. We can label that. This is called your base part. This is called your exponent. The whole thing together is a power. Definition number 1. Definitions number 2 and 3, which we've already explained, are base and exponent. So if I have 5 to the 3, the 5 is my base. If I have 5 to the 3 is my exponent. So the little number is your exponent. The big number is your base. We call writing something as a power the exponential form because the exponential form has an exponent. That's why it's the form with the exponent is the way to remember it. So if something says write in exponential form, you need to write it with an exponent. The base here would be 3. The exponent would be 4. This is exponential form. 10 times 10 times 10 is 10 cubed. And negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, negative 2 would be, and here it's important that the negative 2, which gets multiplied 5 times, stays in brackets. This is not Can you see yourself making that mistake? Ooh. They're not the same. Because this one means the 5 of the exponent is only to the 2. So it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And there's a negative out in front, which is like a negative 1 out in front. That makes that, the answer would be the same, in fact, in this case, because 5 negatives is still negative. So in this case, if you made the mistake, you wouldn't actually get a wrong answer. But if you had something squared, like negative 3 squared is positive 9, whereas negative 3 squared is negative 9. If you were listening to me only on the video, not watching, you would have just heard me say negative 3 squared is 9, but negative 3 squared is negative 9. And you would have been really confused because it sounds the same, right? Because we never say negative 3 in brackets squared. That's positive 9. So we just have to be careful with how we write things. 2/5, 2/5, 2/5. 2/5 cubed. Oh. So when we're talking, if the numbers are 2 or 3, we often say for the 2 we say squared. For 3 we say cubed. But then after that we just say to the exponent of 4. Some people say to the power of 4. Some people don't like it when some people say to the power of 4 because they like it's an exponent. I don't mind either one. This one would be 0.1 cubed. Or if you wanted to write it as a fraction, it would be 1/10 cubed. Practicing changing our decimals to fractions. That was our first unit. Remember that? It wouldn't need to be in brackets, but sometimes when we have fractions with more than one thing, okay, we would write a fraction in brackets because if I didn't write the brackets, maybe you think it's just the 2 that's cubed. No, you would that one, the decimal one, I'd probably expect you to write it as a decimal just because you were given a decimal to begin with. Okay? What you doing? Okay. All right. He's hurt his thumb. Whew, those dots are big. Sorry. They're a little bit extra big for multiplication purposes. But now we have more than one thing multiplied. So let's look at our numbers. The only numbers we have in this one are 5s. And we could write that as 5 squared. And because it's 5 squared, and you could do that in your head, if you wrote 25, I wouldn't be, like, sad. Okay? How many a's do we have here altogether? 4 of them. So we write a to the 4. How many b's? B cubed. Okay, so we look at our numbers. How many 2's? Question. Yeah. How many 2's? 4. How many x's? How many y's? Next definition. Poof. There we go. Only works on the 7th time. Expanded form. Sometimes it says write an expanded form. I'm thinking, what would be the... I should do this once on a quiz and see who gets it right. And have like 5,123. I'd be like, here's your quiz for today. And then I just sit back. It's just one question. It says, write an expanded form. What would you do?
I would just give you the mark. I would not do it.
Yeah? What happens if I made the quiz out of like 100 points? You'd complain to the school? Oh. I like the, it'd be like, it is, instead of spending 40 minutes writing out all the 4's, I'm going to take half an hour and write a letter to the school complaining. Yeah, that's 10 minutes less time. I like it. Okay. So this one would be 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And you notice we start using the dot for multiplication more now instead of an x, because we've learned polynomials and we're getting more into higher level algebra, and now the x is starting to be a variable more than multiplication. Okay? The second one, 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. And again, if you have brackets beside each other, that also means multiplying. And the third one, 16. 3 would be x times x times x times y times y times y times y. So what do you think mathematicians like to write better? Expanded form or exponential form?
Exponential form.
And why?
Because it's easier.
It's easier and it's shorter, okay? But it means you have to understand what it means. So it's there for a purpose because it allows us to write things in a shorter way, but we still have to understand that the y to the 4 means y times y times y times y. Okay. Evaluate. So here's a good example, and some of you asked this question on the quiz, right? This word, do you need a Band-Aid? I might have an extra. I normally don't, but I have one. There you go. You're welcome. Evaluate came up on the quiz, and people ask, what does that mean? So this is an example of where you pay attention in class, and you're like, watch the math and go, I can do the math, but you don't pay attention to some of the words, and on a quiz, your teacher can't help you, and now you're all of a sudden like, I think I know how to do the math, but I don't know what this word means. So evaluate means come up with an answer, a numerical answer. So what is the actual answer to 3 squared? It's 9. Wow. Wow, that's a better 9. That would be evaluating. We came up with a simplified final answer for it. Some of these you might need a calculator for, right? Because 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4. So on your calculator, it might be nice to find out how to do the cubed. Because you can either do on your calculator 4 times 4 times 4, but on your calculator, some calculators have a little hat button like that. See if you can somehow write 4 cubed on your calculator and get 64. Some calculators have this button, a YX button. What does your calculator have?
My phone calculator. Whoa, mine has a y-axis on my phone.
Does it have the YX?
Yeah. There's like 3x, 2x,
And sometimes there's one that's just for, yeah, so you have just the cubed one. So you have 4 cubed like that. Or whoops. Or YX 3.
That's cool. I know.
But it's still nice to know how to use it. Yours has a hat button. So you go 4.
Yeah, I just don't use it.
Oh, this one. Okay, bracket. You could go bracket. You could use that fraction button that you had before. I showed you, right?
Yeah, I keep forgetting.
Yeah, 3 on 4, bracket, and then hit that cubed. And what's really nice, so you have 27 on 64. And sometimes you don't want it as a fraction. You can hit the math button and change it to a decimal.
Whoa. I don't get how you do the fraction one.
For the fraction one on your calculator, you'd put a bracket and go 3 divided by 4 in brackets, and then cube it.
But then, like that?
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing you can do with the fraction one is look at the following. If it means repeated multiplication, how do you multiply fractions? You multiply the tops. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. You multiply the bottoms, and you get 27 on 64,
Wait, I'm confused what happened.
which you could write as a decimal. What was it, 0.42?
Wait, so would it be like 27 over 4 for the next one?
Yes. And I actually would prefer to leave the answer as a fraction because it's exact, whereas your decimal. Hey, can anybody figure out? Oh, hey, just to check, did you get 16 for that one? 27 for this one? Ooh. Did you get 1 for that one? Some people write 5. You know what they did? They did 1 times 5, but it's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1.
Times
1. Second, quit.
1 plus 1 is 2.
Hey, did anybody know how I did this one? Can you see it? Ooh, Cass got it. He said I changed it to 1/4, and cube means times 3 times. And then I did 1 times 1 times 1, and 4 times 4 times 4. There we go. All right. This is going to be good. So this week, Spirit Week, is also Mr. Shirk singing songs about Cass Week.
Yeah, where's your spirit?
Oh,
There's
I
no
was gonna wear a picture. I was gonna wear a T-shirt with my face on it, because graphic arts, a student did the like a color painting
Yeah.
of my face,
okay.
and then they put it on a T-shirt. It's hilarious. I look like a hillbilly.
Here's some more powers with negative bases. We talked about this already. This one is the same as negative 3 times 3, because only the 3 is being squared, which makes it negative 9. And this one is negative 3 times negative 3, which makes it positive 9. So we have to be careful with negatives and where the exponent is. Something you always have to ask yourself is the exponent is to what? How many things does the exponent affect? This one, the exponent only affects the 3, not the negative. This one, the exponent affects the negative and the 3. Yes. Can you see it all throwing off? Okay. And what do kids do when they type this into their calculator? Sometimes they just write this. They didn't put the brackets. They don't take the time to put the brackets when they use their calculator. And their calculator would do the math correctly. Okay, let's figure these out. Do not write them in expanded form. It'll take too long. First one. It's going to be what gets cubed? Just the 1. 1 cubed is 1.
But wouldn't it be -1?
And then it's going to be a negative in front. That one's -1. Next one. What's getting squared?
-1.
The whole thing is getting squared. This one will become +1. Griffin, yes, come put your phone on the corner of my desk, please. Thank you. The next one is -1 cubed. Just right there, and you can get it at the end of class. Thank you. The negative is getting cubed. Can you see that that one will be -1? Okay.
Oh, and even is, yeah, even
Oh.
is exponent is
And if it's in brackets, okay, we'll get to it. But first of all, this one's not in brackets. So can you imagine multiplying 1 by itself 203 times? And you would still get 1. And then you multiply by a negative. This one is -1. Now, Nevaeh's found a shortcut to say this one is +1. She is correct. What is her shortcut? Oh, but this one has brackets, and her shortcut says this one is -1.
even exponent, it's positive if it's a negative. I mean, odd, it's a negative.
So we're looking here is an even exponent because if you have a negative times a negative, every time you have 2 negatives multiplied by each other, it makes it positive, right? So if that number is even, you will always be able to pair things up, and the negatives will all cancel out. If the exponent is odd, they'd all get paired up except for 1, making it negative in the end, which is way better than actually calculating this multiple times on your calculator or writing the expanded form. And then right after, so do you think, the question is, did she come up with it herself or was she just reading ahead?
Oh, no, I actually just gave it myself.
There we go.
I didn't
Right?
realize there was a-
So here's the notes that we just said. Anytime it's without brackets and you have a negative in front, the answer will be negative. But if you have brackets and the exponent is even, the answer is positive. If you have brackets and the exponent is odd, the answer is negative. So, evaluate these on your own. I'll put the answers up in a bit. You can do this and the next example. Then after we do these examples, there's some homework at the bottom. You can either work on that, or if you really wanted to work on your review to study for your quiz tomorrow, you could do that as well. All right, let's put up the answers here, see how you did. Did you get -16, -7, +1? Ooh. -125. +16. 10,000 positive. And then on the bottom, 2 to the 9. Is that 512? 3 to the 5. Oh my goodness, is that 243? I hope so. And negative 5 to the 6 is going to be positive 15,625. Ooh, and then 36 squared will be, I don't know.
Did you say 36 squared?
Or, yeah.
Oh, that's 6 times 6, 36.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to figure out 36 squared 12. Is it 1296? Is it 1296? With a negative on front. Beauty! Whew! So there's your homework at the end.